Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, entitled stranger at a campground expects me to have a shirt for her kid to tie-dye, throws world-class tantrum when I don't. EM is furious her daughter didn't win art competition, gave her the winning prize herself. My parents expect me to be a babysitter even though I moved out. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled stranger at a campground expects me to have a shirt for her kid to tie-dye, throws world-class tantrum when I don't. So my boyfriend and I went camping this weekend at a campground, and we met this couple and their son, maybe 7 to 11 years old. I'm bad at telling kids' ages. While we were setting up our tent and they were setting up at the plot next to ours, we had some polite small talk and we mentioned that we bought a tie-dye kit to tie-dye a couple t-shirts while we were there. It was really just a small cheap tie-dye kit and we both brought 2 shirts to make. The mother immediately got excited and said her son would love to tie-dye with us later that night. We were caught off guard, but I was sure there'd be some extra dye and I didn't really care that much, so I said sure. A few hours of hiking and fishing go by, and then we're ready to go back and settle into our campsite, eat dinner, and start making our t-shirts. We round the corner towards camp, and it was as if this kid was waiting for us. He was right at the path and then sprinted back to his campsite. Once we got closer, his mother stomped over to the trail, and this is how this conversation went. "EM, where have you guys been? We've waited hours." Me, "We've been hiking, but he can come use it in a little bit once we set it up." I was totally caught off guard and turned off that she even approached me that way, but I blew it off again. Like, did this lady expect me to alter my plans all day to cater to her kid? We get to our campsite and I'm about to start dinner, but this woman and her kid are just staring at us. So I decide to just get the dye ready so he can bring his stupid t-shirt over and leave us alone so we can eat in peace. I bring the dye out and they come over to our table, empty-handed. "EM, looks great. He's a small or a medium?" Me, "What? I don't have anything for him to use. I thought you had your own t-shirt that you wanted to dye." "Ingnu, you are the ones who brought the tie-dye kit. We waited all day for you to get back, and now you're saying you don't even have a t-shirt for him?" Me, "I don't know what to tell you. We only have 4 t-shirts to make for ourselves." "I can't believe you told son that he could tie-dye and got his hopes up. He waited for you all day. Can he have one of yours?" Me, "Absolutely not," I said while laughing. "It's not funny. Don't laugh at me." At that point, I'm just like, "Whatever, lady," and we keep snickering at her until they storm back to their campsite, where she starts playing literal death metal music full blast. It's hilarious. This chick was insane, throwing a full-blown tantrum and glaring at us from afar. An hour or so later, the ranger comes over to our tent and said he got a report that we were drinking alcohol. We were drinking alcohol, but they typically don't care unless we're disturbing other campers, and we were just 2 people sitting and eating dinner quietly. I told him what happened, and he thought it was hilarious, and I jokingly said that I'd like to make a counter report about EM's music. He was like, "Hell yeah, I'll do that," and went over to her. She threw a fit when he told her to turn that shit down, and I heard her screaming about how we're partying and drinking, and how dare he confront her and not us. Eventually, her husband turned her music off while she was mid-screech. Then she sulked into her tent and never came back out, and the ranger came back over to our site for a beer after dark. We considered calling her poor husband over for a beer too, but decided not to poke the bear, lol. Why on earth would 2 traveling adults have a child-sized shirt laying around? What kind of creepy adults go camping with a child's shirt, just in case they run into a kid who wants it? If anything, I'd be more concerned if they did have one for her. Creep alarms. I bet OP didn't even make extra dinner for their family. Unbelievable. In all seriousness, I feel bad for the kid having a parent like that. Seriously, that was the part one took as the problem. How dare OP? The very nerve. First she neglects to predict the future and bring enough t-shirts for everyone. Then she makes them wait while they enjoy themselves, and then she doesn't even offer them dinner? The gall of this woman. I agree though, poor kid. It's funny as hell until you remember the kid. Hopefully he sees her behavior and avoids it instead of embracing it. It can really go either way. I can't believe people like that can exist. That was hilarious. Right? How do people like that exist? I'm confuzzled, mind blown. That poor kid. She's the one who got him excited over this and had him waiting around for you to return. I'm glad you didn't come back to find them already using your kit. EM is furious her daughter didn't win art competition, gave her the winning prize herself. When I was young, I was a pretty good artist. I haven't actually drawn or painted or anything now in years. I still do art, but I do it very differently. I create logos, 3D mesh models, etc. But when I was a kid, I was great at it. One year when I was 13, our art teacher had a competition among all her classes. The top 10 would all get to go on a small field trip downtown to the art museum. The top 3 would also get this really cool easel case full of expensive paints, brushes, etc. And the overall winner would also get a $100 gift card to a local hobby/art supply store and their piece displayed at a local coffee shop. As you can imagine, the competition was fierce. For my piece, I decided to do a sculpture and made a flower vase that was shaped like a woman's face with her hair blowing wildly, and the spaces between her hair were where you would stick flowers, so it would look like she was wearing flowers in her hair. It took me all week to get it right. Enter EK. EK was in class with me, and when she saw what I was making, she started copying it. I was pretty annoyed when I noticed, but I figured she would lose a lot of points for being unoriginal, and her sculpture wasn't nearly as good as mine. The day before the competition pieces were due, I fired my work and left it in the oven to cool and take out the next morning. When I arrived in the morning, I found my piece shattered into a million pieces, like someone had picked it up and thrown it against the floor a dozen times. I was utterly heartbroken. I cried and ran to tell the teacher. My piece was the only one that was destroyed, and I was sure it was EK. I told the teacher why I thought so, and she had us both stay after class. EK, did you break OP's vase?
Eka, no.
Are you sure? Someone broke it, and you were sculpting the same thing as her. EK, I didn't break it. EK, I asked around and someone saw you come in very early this morning by yourself. I think you broke it, and I'm going to have to call your mother. You are disqualified from the competition. EK started to cry, but I didn't feel one little bit sorry for her. I was heartbroken. I spent the rest of the day feverishly drawing to have something to enter into the competition. With only a few hours to make something, I was pretty sure I couldn't win, but I had to try. I drew a portrait of the woman from the vase with her hair blowing around her standing by the ocean. I used the glazes from the pottery to paint her dress and hair and the ocean water, but only just a little, like streaks of watercolor fading into white. It actually turned out really cool. I turned it in, and at the end of the day when the winners were announced, I was in the top 10. I wasn't in the top 3, but that didn't surprise me. After school, myself, EK, my mother, MM, and EK's mother, EM, were all supposed to meet in the principal's office to discuss the vandalism with the art teacher, T, and the principal, P. EM was obviously upset when she came in, looking furious. My mother was calm, and the teacher started. EM, we have reason to believe that EK destroyed a very special and irreplaceable piece of sculpture in the art room this morning. The janitor saw her go into the room very early this morning before anyone was there, and when OP went in, she found her piece destroyed. T showed her pictures of the sculpture she had taken and then set down EK's copy, which was lumpy and ugly and not nearly as nice as mine. This is EK's piece. She was copying OP's work, and I think she was jealous, so she broke it. EK would never do that. OP probably copied EK's idea and then destroyed her own work to get her thrown out of the competition. It was completely unfair for you to disqualify her from the competition without any proof that she did anything wrong. I demand that you include EK in the competition. Even if EK was allowed to participate, she would not have placed in the top 10. Her work was completely unoriginal. I saw OP drawing out her idea and working on it 2 days before EK even started hers. Turned completely purple. It seems clear to me that EK had both motive and opportunity to destroy the piece. We are going to have to discipline her. That's not fair. This little shit probably destroyed her own work. First of all, do not call my daughter a shit. Second of all, why would she destroy her own chances like that? She called me sobbing her heart out. She's been talking about that piece excitedly all week. She had no reason to wreck it. To get your sympathy and get my daughter thrown out of the competition. Why would I care if your daughter was in the competition or not? My work was better than hers. I spent a week working on that. I wouldn't break it for no reason. I refuse to accept any punishment for EK. You can't prove she did anything wrong. This isn't a courtroom, This is a school. It's our responsibility to teach children there are consequences for their actions. It is obvious that EK broke the sculpture. I am giving her 3 days of ISS in school suspension, and she will not be allowed to participate in any further competitions this year. Additionally, I will be giving EK a failing grade for the assignment since it was completely unoriginal. You can't do that. She copied another student's work in any other subject that would be called cheating. If she does anything like this again, she will not be welcome in my class. Art is an elective. Was absolutely livid, but there was nothing she could do, so she snatched EK's arm and left in a thunderous fury, threatening to call the school board. I wish that was the end of the story, but it isn't. That Friday was our field trip, and EK was conspicuously absent. When we arrived at the museum, and EK were already there. T was obviously annoyed, but she couldn't kick them out of the museum. I actually started to feel kind of sorry for EK. She looked mortified while her mother made a point of following us around the entire museum, eating lunch by us and everything like her daughter was part of the winning group. We went into a private banquet room after lunch to show off our work to some of the curators and museum employees, and and EK just stood there by the doorway with nothing to show. It was incredibly awkward. The 3 students who had won the easel case were proudly showing them off on Monday, and we all noticed that EK had one awfully similar that was clearly new. She wasn't showing it off though. She seemed actually pretty embarrassed about it and was half hiding it behind her backpack. One of the other students finally said, "Did your mother give you $100 to spend at the craft store too?" In a really condescending way. EK turned completely red. She was so unpopular in that class that year, with everyone snubbing her and refusing to partner with her and loudly saying to T, "Where can I put this where EK won't be able to break it?" I actually started to feel sorry for her, but you reap what you sow. Your original art piece intended for the competition sounds super cool. Sucks that EK broke it, but I'm happy you got in the top 10. I remember when I sculpted what I thought was an absolute marvelous sculpture back in 8th grade. My art teacher got a new kiln and he ended up exploding everyone's art because he didn't know what he was doing, but was too arrogant to ask for help. All students combined. He ended up destroying 500 hours of work. I feel bad for both you and EK, honestly. She got her social status ruined for the year because of her mother over-escalating the situation. Yeah, I felt bad for her too. I mean, she did a really terrible thing, but the price she paid was pretty high. I wish I was good at art. The best I can sculpt is a worm or snake, depending on how you see it. My parents expect me to be a babysitter even though I moved out. I, 24F, have been moved out for a few months now. I have a younger brother, 17M. He plays a bunch of sports and also volunteers. My recent issue has been that my parents expect me to drop everything to babysit him when they want to go on vacation or have weekend plans, which is becoming more and more frequent. They give me very little notice too, expecting me to drop my weekend plans. They don't even give me a choice either. I get a, "we're doing this in a few days," and I am expected to do it. I mean, I can't say no when they've already booked things, or else I'm a DCK. My frustration is just the fact that they have a busy child and proceed to go on all these vacations and trips, expecting me to drop all of my plans to drive him around and stay there. The most notice I get is a few days in advance. I know I need to set boundaries, I just don't know what to do or say. My parents are very hot and cold, and I just know there's going to be anger on their side. I'm just tired of being expected to drop everything to cater to their plans when I don't even live at home anymore. Any and all advice is appreciated. Why in the world does a 17-year-old need a babysitter? He's practically an adult. I ask myself the same question, lol. Just say no and get yourself into therapy to help you with assertiveness. Here's an idea. Tell mom and dad to kick rocks and remind them that you moved out and that you won't be traveling back home to babysit your nearly adult brother who should be old enough to watch himself at the age of 17 and be able to watch any younger siblings you guys have as well, every time your parents want time off from being parents to him. Flat out tell them that you moved out specifically so you won't be doing babysitting anymore. And no, you won't be canceling plans you made to come running to their home to watch your brother like you used to do when you were living there full time. You are done being their babysitter and won't be it anymore, and you have your own life to live that doesn't revolve around them and your brother, who is now more than old enough to not live a babysitter anyway. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.